everybody, my name is Leigha Francis, also known as L, sounds of it on Instagram, and I'm here today to talk to you about my gap year.
Anyways, hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about gap years, and I have one of my favorite human beings with me, the lovely Leigha Francis. So Leigha and I both took a gap year, which if you had asked us 2 to 3 years before when we started UWC, we would have been like, what's a gap year? Like, I'm taking a gap year. Gapping from what? Like, how does this work? Why are we gapping? Is it the genes? Like, let's talk about it. So many students have come to me to ask about gap years and parents, so I wanted to do this video. So the first thing I ask you, or the first question we need to answer is, why did we take gap years?
So it's funny that you say that, because the thing is, 2 to 3 years ago, I knew what a gap year was, and I kind of knew I wanted to take one because I really wanted that time, not necessarily because of UWC, but because it was just so fast paced and everything. Even though it was amazing to have that like experience where we were able to navigate everything and to take responsibility for ourselves and to have that type of freedom, and to be able to explore so many different things that we didn't get to explore here. It was kind of because of that mainly, that I had so many things I finally realized, this is what I want to do, this is what I like I never really had that awakening before, and I really wanted to give myself time to explore that and not just to go straight from one straight path to another one. So yeah, that was kind of it for me.
Yeah.
How about you?
I know that you touched on wanting the freedom to explore what you had always wanted to, the things that you, I guess, was aligned with your purpose, or the things you wanted to experiment with, because that's why I took mine. Another big reason I took mine is because I needed rest.
Yeah, girl.
No one really talks about how. The other day when I was reflecting on this video and shooting and what to say, I was like, I don't think you realize that you're in a system for like fully 16, anywhere between 16 to 18 years. Yeah. And you go from one teacher to another, to the next, another school to another subject, and it's just like, where do you find the time to find out who you are? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, that's one of the reasons why I took a gap year. I needed the time to figure out who is Esther-Gail, what's Esther-Gail like at 19, 20.
Exactly. What's she like outside of UWC, outside of school, outside. Yeah.
And then another big reason why I took it is rest. I think a lot of people don't understand or they probably underestimate how much rest a student needs, because after 6 months with IB
with UWC, first of all, you know that they say UWC is, what's it called? IB on steroids, okay? So that's a whole other level.
Yeah. And I mean, even without going to UWC or being IB, when you do CAPE, or like anything, it's a lot. Like, it's a culmination of like your entire high school experience. You're supposed to be finding unis that you like, and more often than not, you're gonna need to find funding. And it's just like, I'm also supposed to be a leader. How does this work? Let's even start talking about like family life. Girl, you're a sibling, and if you have like a partner, you're supposed to be loving, and you're like, how does this work? So, because love, it's not really. So I think I needed it for rest, and like making sure that the university that you go to is good for you. Because I think at least at my school, he was like, school's not to you probably get funding, you know I want it, it's like, and then when it doesn't happen, or you don't really like the school, you're like, so whatever. So that's why I took a gap year, but I was definitely hesitant to take it because okay, so you had a positive introduction to gap years. For me, it was like, no, this is what like European students do. Like they probably just go backpacking. For a year. That's actually so true. It's a great time. They just backpack all over Europe. And they have a great time. Like culture.
It's so easy.
But it's
so much more accessible.
The Caribbean, the Jamaican people of color narrative. Can you imagine telling your mom, I'm gonna just sit for a little bit. I'm gonna just backpack.
have no plan. I have
nothing.
No goal.
I'll figure it out as I go along. It will work out. Like, it just didn't fit. I was like, this doesn't fit. This is like a European, maybe not kind of like, so which brings me to my next question. Did you have any myths and stereotypes about gap years before you took one?
I mean, a lot of, again, like, a very Jamaican perspective that I got from, aunties and uncles and everybody with our opinion was that, are you sure? Like, is it something like you really want to do? You're gonna waste, you have to make sure you don't waste time. It was a big, like, you're gonna waste time. Like, it's not gonna be something that's good for you. What are you gonna do in this whole year? Do you have a plan? Blah, 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 blah. And from the beginning, I didn't really have a plan, but I knew with myself and with all the things I had that I wanted to do, I was like, yeah, I will find things. Like, I know that I'm going to find things to do, so I didn't really, or I tried not to let that steer me away from it. But it was, again, very similar to like just what you said about it being Jamaica. I guess the Jamaican perspective being very close-minded in terms of like being able to steer away from the normal path of, high school, college, work. Yeah. Right? Because even now, most of us we're working and we don't even touch college yet. So, yeah.
I was listening to you and I'm like, no, but I totally agree. And yeah, there you touched on having all these opinions coming, because one of my biggest struggles, and I had the same struggle that my best friend from Botswana had, because we're in like gap years. My mom is going to scream. Is how do you tell people I'm not a gap year? Like they're like gap year. Like their brain is gonna gap year. Like, this doesn't make sense. What does this mean? And how do you explain that? And for me personally, it was a bit difficult because I'm a planner. So like I can tell you what's gonna happen 3 months from now. Like this is gonna happen. This should happen. Maybe not on this day, but I'll get this done. And to not have that, I was like, so I think you had a more healthy response to it. Because you were like, no, I'll figure it out. I was like, I have 48 hours to figure this out, because I'm gonna land 48 hours and you're gonna ask me what are you doing? And I'd be like, I'm just here, don't worry about it. Just living. So I kind of, I figured it out. I did after a few nights of crying and questioning what I was doing. I figured it out. And one thing I'd say in response to all these opinions is opinions will come regardless. If you decided to go to university a year earlier, you get an opinion. If you decided not to go to university, you have an opinion. If you decided to get married at 19, regardless of what you do, there'll be an
everybody's gonna have something to say.
And that opinion is because of their perception of life, not even necessarily of you. But I found that a lot of people, and I find that a lot of people tend to give opinions based on the limitations that they anticipate, not necessarily for you, but also for themselves, like if they were doing it. So I'm not going to tell you it's easy, because it's difficult. To tell people, I'm taking my but understand that it's for you. And we are so much better for it.
God.
No, like I took a gap.
Exactly. Like I did that, and I recommend it. Painful, like do it. If you can.
And I think another myth is, and I find this with parents too, like especially people that are older, they think you're taking a gap in your education.
Yes.
And you're never gonna go back to school. And it's like, no, go back. I just need time to figure it out.
And I feel like it's a very like if you make it a very healthy gap, it's a very healthy gap for you and for your mental space. Like I've learned so much from working and just about myself, from taking on this whole journey of singing and music and diving into the industry and having to put myself out there. Like of course in Thailand I kind of got a taste of that, and I was able to start that, but it's like I never imagined that it would have blossomed into what it is now, you know?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known that or known as much about myself either if I hadn't taken that break or that gap, you know?
What's that girl? Little artist.
You have... Okay.
Right, so I think to give a solution, I guess, to people's opinions, and especially that of your parents, because it's not like you can be like, I don't care what you have to say. They feed you and how you feed them. They typically know what's best for you. I think it's to really sit them down and to give them an idea, it doesn't have to be perfect, of what you're going to do for the year, what it looks like, and to keep them updated.
That's very true, because I know especially like a lot of parents are all about the plan. So and my parents were the same as, of course, my sister took a gap year, so they were more conditioned to the idea and they were more open to it, and you know they could see a future for me regardless. But they still were like, you know, you're not going to sit down for a whole year. You have to have a plan. You have to know what you think you want to do or what you might do. You know. So I think definitely, as you said, having a plan, sitting them down, I kind of just, you know, expressing the passion that you have, I guess, and you know, letting them see that as well, as opposed to just taking it to take it and to sit down, because I mean at that point, maybe not. But if you do have something that you want to explore or a part of you that you want to tap into, I definitely would recommend kind of exploring the idea of taking a gap year and investing in whatever that part of you and whatever that purpose that you think you have is.
Okay, and then I think my last thing, I hope it's the last thing, but I guess my TOK brain is biases, so shout out to Ivy for that. But I know that we have spoken a lot about our personal development, but we've also used this here for our professional development, right? And I think, you know, throwing that in there, it's important to not just find yourself. You know, in the year. Like you're taking a year from school, but maybe if you didn't get the grades that you wanted to, you might have to retake an exam, or you might have to, or maybe you should do a course online, or find a mentor, do something. Professional development, take an internships, work as she can, you know, very much talk about, because work opportunities, volunteer opportunities, because it's not just sitting down and meditating or figuring out who you are, though that's important. You also have to pay it forward, which is the theme of my life, but pay it forward for your future self in terms of your academics, in terms of your professional.
For sure. And I do also want to say as well that, and in that, of course, I think as well in Jamaica, I feel like it's somewhat hard, or we feel like it's a bit harder to find internships and to find work opportunities as young people, you know, somewhat entrepreneur, like trying to find your way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that somebody's, you know, looking for something. You can create a position for yourself. You can go to them and say, you know, do you possibly think you need, for example, they don't have, you know, a banning social media page. You can go to them and say, you know, like this is what I've done so far. I really like, you know, making infographics, and I think that I'm really good at reading Instagram insights, and I think that I could really boost your Instagram page. Would you be willing to take me on as this, and, you know, create something for yourself, or use what you think that they possibly, not even that they need it, but just if they already have it, then you can say, you know, I would love to. It can be unpaid, but it's still an opportunity to learn, right? Like you can go to, and I've literally done this to various companies to say, you know, I would really like to learn more about media communication, social media management, marketing, etc. And to say, hey, you know, I really like how your marketing is going, or how your social media page is managed, etc. Do you think that I could shadow your social media marketer manager for, you know, a month, and just see what you learn? You sit in on the meetings, you know, take notes of what they do and how they do it, and then at that point, or even like I remember somebody was mentioning this as well on, you know, video shoots, and even with my sister produces music videos, and I've been able to go on them as a production assistant. Literally, I get people walked out. Like, I'm literally just an extra hand, just to be able to say, hey, do you think I could come and see? Because then for me, and help me out, but I'm also seeing the behind the scenes of how all of this works. Because hopefully one day I'll be able to make an amazing music video like they are and like they're doing now, and I can see the behind the scenes, and I can see the production, the direction, all of the things that it takes to make all of these amazing things come to light, you know. So I think that is also really important, just trying, not being afraid to put yourself out there and to find an opportunity, even though one is not necessarily right in front of you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm going to use this opportunity to plug the PDFs that we're going to have accompanying this video that will give you ideas and tips on how to do this, how to like find work opportunities or internships, and then also to wait to hear from our college counselor expert who also helps students to this. So we're now sitting with the phenomenal Amanda Rickman, who is a college matchmaker, and she's the founder owner of College Quo, which is a college matchmaking consultancy, I guess. Cool. So just wanted to ask you a couple of questions because this is your zone of expertise. So the first one I'd ask you is, what would you tell students who are considering taking a gap year?
I would say the first thing is to consider what your purpose is with a gap year. So don't just go into a gap year blind and be like, oh, I think I want to take a gap year, or a bunch of my friends are taking a gap year. Like, figure out what you want from that year, and whether that purpose is academic, or you want some professional development, or you want just a break, and all of those are like valid, but figure out that purpose, figure out what you want to do, figure out what you like want to make of this year and make it your own, and pursue different passions from it.
Okay, cool. I know a lot of students, a lot of parents are worried about what universities think about gap years. Could you like shed some light on that? Pros and cons?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing to consider with a gap year is just making sure that you plan something really interesting that colleges would like to see during a gap year. Colleges really like to see things that are in line with a student's current profile. So if they already have extracurriculars related to photography, then they could pursue an internship with a photography firm, or a shadowing experience, or something related to it, and really just have them explore their passions. And that's what colleges want to see. On the college application, it also asks, like, why did you take a gap year? Like, what was the purpose of it, and what did you do? So make sure your why is set in stone, and that the overall purpose of it is a plan, and you actually put that plan into action. So you can have a plan, and you have all these things that you want to do, but if you never actually do it, then it doesn't count really. So just make sure that you are actually acting upon those things. And once you're doing that, universities will always love any gap year candidate, because it shows you took time off for yourself to pursue passions, and that you're really interested in something. So a gap year can be a really beneficial thing, and it won't hurt your application in any way if you do something really productive during that year.
So along the lines of that, a lot of people are like, yeah, I want to be productive, but how do I find the opportunities that would help me be productive?
Yeah.
So especially coming from students that are in like a developing country, or like a community that's not as developed, how should they, or how can they go about creating or finding their own opportunities?
That's a really good question, and something that I constantly am talking to students about through College Quo. It's really like helping them to find those opportunities. And we know that in Jamaica and the Caribbean on a whole, opportunities, especially for young up and coming professionals or high school students, there really aren't many like set internships or like a summer job or a summer experience. So what I have students do is really to go out into the world and create those opportunities for themselves, whether it's going to a company physically and being like, hey, can I talk to the HR manager? I did that while I was in college to get an internship out here. I like went there, I was like, please can I talk to someone? I'm willing to work for free, which is something that you guys touched on earlier as well. Like, don't be afraid to do something that's unpaid, because really there isn't money floating around for an intern. It's just not happening at companies out here. And reach out to people, reach out to professionals that you know or have heard of, email, like don't be afraid to just cold email someone and be like, hey, I am really interested in this thing. I would love to just set up a 10-minute conversation with you if you have any time. And also outside of like the job and internship realm, start a blog, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel. Like this is the digital age, and colleges are like looking for those things more and more and want to see that students, you know, if you have access to a computer, a laptop and internet, then you have so many things that you can do on your own to explore your passion. So do them, get involved in like the digital space and create something of your own. So I think the first step in really planning your gap year is obviously just to figure out what you want to do during that gap year. And a gap year can look like different things for different people. So it could mean that you're doing one overarching project. It could be a personal project, or you're working with a team or working with a company, or it could mean that you're doing multiple different things. And within the passion projects and the exploration and the opportunities that you have to go out and find, also because a gap year is, you know, the year in between high school and college, you will probably have to be working on college apps at the same time. So just make sure that you have dedicated, structured time to it. And one thing that I don't think I mentioned as well is that a gap year can be really beneficial to students who like just want to reapply and may not have been in the right headspace or like the right mental state during high school to really sit down and focus on college applications. So one thing that a gap year gives them is just like room to breathe and actually sit down with applications and figure out like, okay, this is how it all works. Of course, working with like a consultant is really beneficial as well, because we kind of help you to tailor the applications and also figure out what type of meaning we can derive from a gap year, and what that means in like the larger context of your overall college profile. So all of that is super important, but definitely try to plan your gap year, and as I said earlier, put pen to paper and also plan in action. Like just do things, put yourself out there and get things done.
Explaining what we did and amidst everything and everything else, we wanted to give you like explicit tips on how to curate your own gap year. Yeah. So Ella, the beautiful little to start first.
So yeah, I guess one thing would be personal development and growth. In that sense, I think one thing that, and you touched on it before, in checking back in and not only keeping your parents updated, because of course that is going to make everything easier, but checking in back with yourself throughout your gap year, and making sure that you've in the beginning set goals, and it doesn't have to be, you know, strict specific things that you want to get done, but even if it's just things that you think that would make everything better for you, maybe making a vision board, maybe, you know, making a point to go to the gym or to get outside every day, right? Like, or even to go to more seminars and like all of the things that we have been sending each other, like seminars and virtual, especially now that everything's virtual and more things are becoming virtual, and finding things in your niche and things that you know will help you to develop a bit more and help you to develop in that sense more, and to grow yourself and to grow your mind, and to figure out, I guess, more of what you want to see for yourself in the future.
Number 2 would be academics. While we didn't really touch on it this year because we didn't have to. There's nothing we really had to do academically again. some of my friends have had to retake subjects, not because they failed, and even if they did, but because they thought they could have gotten better grades, or people have done like online courses, Coursera, edX.
Yeah.
There's a whole
There's a lot.
PDF.
Yeah.
Right. So to do an online course, which can probably give you insights into what you want to study in uni, or you've always been interested in astronomy, and let me just pick an online
And that
course.
also doesn't only have to be something that would be considered academic, because then that can be, again, social media content. That can even be music production. Like, there are online courses, and it doesn't even have to be a strict online course. It can be a YouTube series that you sit and, because there are so many things out there that we have access to so many resources that can, again, build your mental and develop that kind of side, and also keep you on a schedule, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like that helps a lot too.
I just remember Squarespace. So.
Yeah.
Squarespace.
Yeah, Squarespace. What's it called? Masterclass.
Outlier.
So many.
So academics. Highly consider like either being on a subject or just studying something.
Another one is we kind of touched on it with personal growth, but also health, mental health, physical health, emotional health. I think a big thing, again, as we said before, journaling. But I think, or I would recommend the 5-minute journal. I really, really like that. For somebody who doesn't, I used to journal, but I don't really anymore. But with a 5-minute journal, literally taking 5 minutes out of your day, absolutely game changing, not even gonna lie. And to get into more of a routine, because I'm not somebody that sits still. I find it very hard to just sit and for me, one thing I really wanted to work on during this gap year again is investing more time in myself, and doing things that intentionally will help me to develop and to focus more on my mental health. So things like 5-minute journaling, things like listening to podcasts or TED Talks in the morning or at any point in my day where I don't necessarily have something to do. So instead of watching a show on Netflix, I'll listen to a podcast or a TED Talk. And even again, for somebody who doesn't really want to sit still or doesn't really have the attention span to sit and just listen to somebody in my ears talking while there's nothing in front of me. There are a lot of great podcasts that are literally 6 minutes but have so much packed into those 6 minutes. Like there's Optimal Living Daily, there's so many others like on Spotify that you can find, and even there are lots of short TED Talks, and I feel like, especially being on a gap year, if you're not gonna be, or not, I guess you wouldn't really want to, but if you're not gonna be doing academics or working per se, as like a corporate, still finding ways to stimulate your mind. So not only reading, but things like TED Talks about random things that you didn't know you needed to know, or you didn't know you wanted to know. And again, as I said before, like going outside, finding time to just get outside and get in the sun, get that vitamin D, get that fresh air. I know that sometimes it's really tempting to just lie in bed all day or sit inside. And of course, at that point, you could be relaxing, you are relaxing, and it's great, but taking those 5 minutes to just get outside and take in, and realize all the blessings that you have around you as well, and be in nature, I think is really important. Also, just to touch on the fact that another thing that I really wanted to do in this gap year was explore Jamaica, and that was a really big thing, and that was amazing for me. There's so many places that I've been to, and literally just being outside, like that can bring you up in so many ways, honestly. So I feel like, just getting your friends and going off like a day trip to Ochi, going to the beach, going to a river, saying, hey, let's, hike. Why not? I feel like that's really important as well.
Alright, and then I will go to professional. So you want to also make sure that you're, let's say it again, paying it forward, professionally as well. I have been able to work at some great places this year with some great people, and I know that those connections will help me moving forward. You know, networking, but not only networking, because I feel like it has a negative connotation sometimes, but genuinely building friendship and genuinely learning from people is important. And, you know, similar to personal development, like, try new things. Like, I like marketing, but I ended up being a research assistant. So now I'm just like, I like research, guys. I like marketing, and I was a teacher. Yeah, like, you know, it's like, all of these new things, don't be afraid to try something new, because you really probably don't have any other time, like, designated time to just do anything, you know. So, be intentional about finding opportunities that align with what you want to do, but also be open to things that are just like, you know, like, let me just try a thing. Yeah, let's just go to the top. Yeah, exactly. Sure. So that's it. All four. So personal development, academic, professional development, and health. Yeah. Alright, so this button right here, you're just gonna, it's not even gonna make a sound.
So just click it? Just like one press or hold it down?
1, 2, 3. Don't hold it down. So like 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. Because I put this on silent notes, which is why like in the essay workshop you can hear actually. I was just walking.
Yeah. I like didn't see you until I glanced over and I'm like, oh, she's been taking that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one, I think.
Yeah.
I hope. Wait, it still says record.
Oh wait, as in